1. William Shakespeare was a weakish speller. One of the most curious facts about William Shakespeare is that his name can be reshuffled to create the sentence "I am a weakish speller." We might wish for a more heroic anagram for one of our nation's greatest playwrights, but unfortunately "I am a weakish speller" does in fact ring true when applied to Shakespeare. It was a man named Donald L. Holmes who first discovered the anagram, possibly while musing about the frivolity of early modern orthography, the art of writing words with the proper letters. Shakespeare was writing in the era before Samuel Johnson's dictionary, which started the process of standardizing English spelling, so he was rather relaxed about words. Indeed, he could not even decide how to spell his own name. Consider the following variants on his signature when he was finalizing legal documents such as the mortgage deeds on property in Blackfriars and his will: Shakespeare, Shakespeare, and Shakespeare. See also the spelling in the 1599 edition of Romeo and Juliet. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Had it not been for a fatal brawl in 1587, we may never have heard of William Shakespeare. Nobody really knows how young Shakespeare made his way from his childhood home of Stratford-upon-Avon to the bustle of Elizabethan London and playhouse glory. There are several theories about what he did when he first arrived in the capital, including the famous story that he was employed as a kind of valet looking after playgoers' horses while they enjoyed the show. Whether or not this is true, and there is no reason why it should not be, we still don't know how Shakespeare was first introduced into theatrical society, or the circumstances in which he left Stratford. The best theory I have heard involved two angry men and a sharp sword. It was the year 1587. The Queen's Men, a major acting company whose patron was Queen Elizabeth, were on a summer tour, bringing the latest hit plays to the provinces. Life on the road for a troupe of players cannot have been easy, and tempers were beginning to fray. On the night of 13th June, the actor William Nell attacked his colleague John Town with a sword. Town fled but was cornered and struck back, inflicting a fatal stab wound on Nell. The Queen's Men were now officially short-staffed. A few days later they arrived in Stratford-upon-Avon, where fate may have united them with William Shakespeare. Nobody knows exactly how they first met, but Shakespeare would have seen the Queen's Men perform in Stratford. 3. The character Amelia in Othello may have been based on a real-life lover. Generations of Shakespeare biographers have portrayed Shakespeare's love life as being a rather colorful one. His purported lovers include figures such as Henry Wriothesley, the 3rd Earl of Southampton, a brothel keeper called Lucy Morgan, and the courtier Amelia Lanier. Amelia is one of the candidates for Shakespeare's Dark Lady, that shadowy figure who inspired some of his most passionate sonnets. Lanier was a poet in her own right, producing some of the earliest feminist work in the English language. With titles including Eve's Apology in Defense of Women, she exposes double standards, asking mutinously, "Why are poor women blamed, or by more faulty men defamed?" Some scholars believe that Shakespeare had Lanier in mind when he wrote the character Amelia in Othello. Indeed, Amelia has some of the most feminist lines in the whole of Shakespeare. "Let husbands know their wives have sense like them. They see and smell and have their palates both for sweet and sour as husbands have." Amelia Lanier's father was also a Venetian, so it may not be a coincidence that Othello is partially set in Venice. 4. Shakespeare.
Subscribe now.